Hi, welcome to my workplace. My studio is a bit torn apart right now because I'm doing some upgrades, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to bring you this week's episode of Dynamite, which was super fun. So let's just get into it. First and foremost, we started off the night with a quick package reviewing last Wednesday when Darby Allin won the title. Quick, fast, and to the point. Immediately after that, MJF came running out, essentially, hit the ring with a microphone, and just talked a lot of crap for about 3 minutes. He demanded Darby come out, hand him his title back, to which we got somebody else's entrance music, and Kevin Knight came out. And Kevin Knight was like, listen, I've had you beat basically several times, and you know it, and I should be Kevin Two Belts. But that's not the case right now. I'd still like to whoop your butt. So that was a whole back and forth for a little bit. MJF was like, you want to go? You want to go? Get me a referee, put the title on the line, let's do this. And then as soon as Bryce Remsburg came out, MJF rolled out of the ring and was like, nah, we can do this next week. Thanks, but no thanks. Then we went backstage. Renee was doing a little interview. She introduced the demand, and then she turned and was like, oh, and Jericho's here as well. And Jericho came in, and Jericho and Ricochet had a little back and forth. And that was just its own little thing. Nothing too crazy, nothing too outstanding. But we do have a trios match set up, I believe, for Saturday. I believe it's going to be on Collision. And then we got to our initial match of the night, which was Brody King versus Blackheart Lio Rush. And I am really liking this Lio Rush rendition. I think that what he's doing is a lot of fun. I've said that in the past. I also think it's taking a lot of energy, so I don't know how long he's going to keep it up. But at the end of the day, however long it lasts, I'm a fan. I really like it. I hope it continues. Obviously, Brody King gets the win. He grabs a microphone at the end, and he was like, I'm super proud of Darby. And tonight in the main event, if Ciampa defeats Darby for the title, then I'm coming after Ciampa. But Darby, if you keep it, I'm going to be coming after you. So either way, Brody King is got his eyes set on the title, and that's just what we're doing at this point. So it was real quick, kind of quick match. It wasn't quite a squash match, but it wasn't, I don't think it went longer than 6 minutes tops. Lio Rush's character work in it was very fun. I wish I could hear everything that he was saying to himself, but alas, the cameras don't pick everything up. So, but that's fine. We move on. Then we went backstage again, and Renee was interviewing Ciampa, who was just chilling in a chair, looking like a badass. And Ciampa was like, I came here to win titles. I'm going to do everything I can to do that. Let's get to the main event. That was his whole thing there. Then we hit commercial, I believe, and came back from commercial immediately to a pre-recorded package from Adam Copeland, and he essentially was saying, hey, FTR, you're definitely one of the best tag teams in the world, but you're not the best tag team in the world. However, you've got some skill, or else you couldn't do this to my face. And he's got like a new little scar on his forehead. And he threw out the final challenge. Next pay-per-view, he wants Cope and Cage versus FTR for the titles. And if Cope and Cage lose, then they will split as a tag team. And they won't come after FTR anymore as far as like for the titles. Like, I'm sure Cope is still going to come after them individually just to have his own little bit of fun with everything. But you know, we'll just have to see how that works. I'm kind of hoping that they reply on Saturday and they say yes, and then we can get this one last hurrah big matchup at the next pay-per-view. So that'll be fun. The next match started right after that. It was Shida versus Mina. It was a fine match. There wasn't anything wrong with it. Shida ended up with the win. Mina put a lot of effort in and still has this kind of like new mentality to her. You know, it was was fine. Nothing to really rip your socks off, but good enough to keep your interest for the 7-8 minutes that the match ran, I think. Then we got a package for Okada versus Takeshita at the pay-per-view, and it was kind of silly, kind of funny. Okada is definitely, some form of silly, funny type guy, wrestler person. So that's going to be a good match at the pay-per-view. That's all I can say. I hope that match lasts 20 minutes. Like, it's going to be real fun, real goofy. Then we came out with Ospreay versus Davis. And that was a slobber knocker. Ospreay was really putting up the best fight he could. Davis, obviously big, strong boy, was just kind of throwing him around, hitting him with all kinds of power moves. That match actually went a way that I wasn't expecting, and it ended... Here's how it ended. A couple big power moves from Davis. They rolled to the outside. Just Davis was beating the crap out of Ospreay, and then Ospreay was really like holding his shoulder and his neck and just like showing that he was feeling something bad. And Doc Samson ended up coming over. I mean, he was right there at the timekeeper's area. He just kind of skittered over real fast and was checking on Ospreay, and he actually called off the match, just saying like, hey, Ospreay can't feel his arm. This can't continue. Davis is the winner. Congratulations, Davis. So that's how that worked. Davis pulled Ospreay back into the ring, was going to hit him with a pendulum bomb thing, and then the Death Riders came out and they surrounded the ring. Davis dropped Ospreay, and him and Don Callis ran off, and then the Death Riders grabbed Ospreay and they took him through the crowd and they disappeared, and so nobody knows where Ospreay is right now. So that's going to be a very interesting thing as far as follow-ups for when the cameras caught up to them. I'm sure we're going to get it in a package on Saturday, and we'll just have to see what happens. Then we went backstage again. Renee Paquette was standing backstage with Alex Windsor. They were having a quick conversation when Persephone showed up, and Windsor's partner is out at the moment with injury. So Windsor shot a challenge out to the Triangle of Madness, saying, hey, you pick your two, and me and Persephone will see you soon. And so that's setting up a match. So that should be pretty fun. We haven't seen Persephone in a minute. Then we got the return of Samoa Joe. And Samoa Joe came out and faced a young man named Chun. It wasn't quite a squash match. That one did last a hot minute, and Chun got some good offense in, but Joe is looking peak form right now. So I'm calling it a squish just because I don't think it lasted a full 5 minutes. But it was still very, very interesting, very, very good. And that's just where that was. So Joe got the victory as he was walking up the entrance ramp. Big celebration. Everybody was happy to see him back. I'm happy to see him back. So let's just do our thing and enjoy Joe being back. Followed that up with another package for Darby Allin. It was basically just showing all the shenanigans that he's ever gotten into and all the craziness that he does as far as jumping off of stuff and just throwing his body like it means nothing to him. Very fun. Then we had a quick segment with Jericho backstage, just basically saying the same thing he kind of said earlier when the Demand was next to him, like, I don't have to find somebody that hates or that likes me, I just have to find somebody that hates the Demand, because he's got to find two guys for this trios match that's coming up. Then Darby came out, got introduced by Shivani, did his own promo saying, like, this isn't for me, I know what this title does to people, I've seen it happen, this is for you guys. I am, like, essentially doing his own version of, like, I'm the people's champ. And it was fine. Then MJF came out and once again demanded, give me my title back, to which Darby was like, no. But if you'd like to see your title, I'll be out here every week putting it on the line against anybody who wants a shot. And Ciampa had his music hit. He comes out, he does his whole pose, he does his whole thing, he slow walks down the ramp. When he gets right near the bottom of the ramp, MJF is there, and he grabs him by the arm and he spins him to look at him, and he starts saying something to Ciampa. I don't even know what he was saying. Ciampa just kind of laughs, gives him the kiss of death, and he slides into the ring, and we get the match going, and boy, was it fun. Ciampa definitely showed more aggression this time. He definitely had a lot of emotion going into this. The first couple minutes were basically just the two of them hitting each other back and forth and being ridiculous little shits. But then Darby ended up climbing up to not just the top turnbuckle. He climbed his scrawny little butt all the way and perched on top of the actual ring post, which was kind of insane. And then he did a crossbody from the top of the ring post to the floor, but not just to the floor. He took Ciampa over the guardrail into the timekeeper's area through their table. That is some distance and some power. And so that was very interesting. Ciampa got broken open at some point during that exchange. I don't know how, but that's just what happened. Then they just had a little bit more back and forth happening, and at one point Ciampa and Darby were like on the apron next to the announcer's desk, and they were fighting, and then Ciampa threw Darby up on the top rope at the corner, and then climbed up to the second rope, got Darby Allin into position, and hit a Psycho Driller from the second rope onto the floor, and really looked like he screwed up his own lower back. So that was fun. Just super curse splat match is all I can say about that. In the end, though, Darby did manage to get Ciampa in the Scorpion Death Lock, and he kind of faltered a bit, and it was a little strange for a second, but he figured out how to get back up on his feet, and he wrenched back on it. Ciampa tapped out. Ta-da, Darby is still your AEW Men's Champion. And that was that. So Ciampa and Darby shared a moment after the match in the ring where they shook hands, they bowed to each other. Ciampa grabbed the title, popped the belt open, draped it over Darby's shoulder, and then he rolled out of the ring and disappeared. And as he was heading up the ramp, Brody King was heading down the ramp, and he showed up with a microphone, and he was just like, I talked to Tony Khan, and as long as it's cool with you, next week, you and me for the title. What do you say? And Darby was like, yeah, let's do that. And then they like hugged for a second. That was the entire show. So hopefully you guys can forgive me for having such a strange upload time for this. Like I said, my studio is being upgraded. I'll have everything back together hopefully by Saturday. Maybe not, though. I'm waiting for one more thing to show up in the mail. So that was this week's Dynamite. Have yourself a great rest of the afternoon, and don't take any wooden nickels. Have fun. Be safe. Peace.